5 minutes after the hour, it is the Glen Biegel Show, and Tom Anderson now filling in mornings here on KON and KVNT, and I am here on your afternoon drive. Love to hear from you. I'm trying to get Tom Anderson to call in, by the way. He had lots to say about me this morning, and I didn't catch a lot of it. I did catch some, and it was pretty colorful. I'll just have to say that. Somebody named Allison had some interesting things to say, but you're listening to the Glen Biegel Show here, KON KVNT, and we are online at 1080 KON. That's where we stream live. You can go check out all the stories that I highlighted as important on glenbiegel.com, and that would be a wise thing to do. Some commentary there for me. We're Facebooking and all that kind of stuff. Would love to hear from you on Facebook. It's up right now. If you want to give me a call, I will converse I said, you need to call me before 4:30. He sends me a question mark. How is that? Was I unclear? I mean, if I get mentioned on the morning show, I'm gonna look. I gotta get a call. That's gotta. Tom Anderson, if you do not know, he is the new morning talk show host here on KOAN and KBNT. He is great. He's so much fun to listen to on the air. I have rarely heard someone who is just he's a natural at it, and he's got sort of a feisty. I would call him feisty. I think that's a fair fair acquittal of how he runs his show. It's a lot of fun, but it does get I mean he mixes it up, and that's what makes for good radio. Tom Anderson on 6 to 9 a.m. here on KON KBNT. This is the Glen Biegel Show, 569-1080 and 357-5868. Stay tuned. after the hour. The hour sponsor for this hour of the Glen Biegel Show is my good friends over at A&A The Shop. If you're looking for a place to take your Subaru, that's right, I said Subaru. They only deal with Subarus at A&A The Shop, Alaska's independent Subaru service center. Also, best shop in Anchorage, 6 out of the last 12 years. It's an amazing record, a 36-month, 36,000-mile warranty on both parts and labor. And they can serve you at Old Seward and Tudor, 562-3919, or out at Ashley Park Lane, 696-2096. All right, we're going to try to get Tom and Allison on here. Let's see. Tom, have I got you?
I am here, my friend.
All right, Allison.
I should be here.
All right. Well, welcome aboard, you guys.
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's an honor. You know, Allison and I do the World of Science on KVNT, and now with all of the changes, me in the morning, you in the afternoon, it's kind of getting clustered, but we certainly appreciate that you're on in the afternoon on both stations, Glenn.
Well, look, I think we got a dynamite lineup here with you and Joe and me. You know, there's a lot to listen to on this radio station.
No, absolutely. And let me tell you, folks, for those of you listening, Glenn knows I'm a big fan of his, and I have family members the same. And what I said, and he called me on it, and that's good. Yesterday, when he basically had his inaugural KVNT launch in the afternoon show, which used to be mine, for those of you specifically in the Valley, he, if you recall, introduced himself and, hey, consistently conservative, and gave his resume, and then he talked about marijuana. Now, I'm not a marijuana user, but I host every week the joint sessions, the 1-hour cannabis analysis, what's happening in Juneau, and with Corey Ray. And Glenn, you remember you and Dan Fagan had Corey Ray on a couple times from the Alaska Cannabis
Right.
Institute.
He actually had partaken of marijuana just before he came on the air, as I recall.
I remember you guys picked him. I hear Bonnie
He did not drive. That was Allison, by the way. She's on with us.
Okay.
He did not drive here. I just want people to know his wife or girlfriend drove him over here, so he was not smoking and driving.
Okay. Well,
so you actually call them joint sessions? Are you serious? And you're talking about the legislature?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
He chose the name. But let me tell you this, so for those listening. So what Glenn said, he said, hey, and I can't quote you verbatim, but close enough. You said, hey, marijuana, February 24th, which is now today. This was yesterday, last night on your inaugural show in KVNT. You said, hey, it's 20 to 30 times more potent. And I don't know if you're right or not. That seems high. But then you talked about, hey, the slippery slope, what's next, heroin or psychotropic drugs, you know, painkillers. And
my question was on painkillers, not on heroin and not on meth. I do think heroin and meth are far different than marijuana. I didn't even know that you know what my position on marijuana is, but continue.
Well, I do not. I was taking exception to how you presented in terms of the kind of the connection. And I was thinking of KVNT afternoon show, and I giggled last night because I thought, oh man, for those that listen that say, hey, Tom Anderson, who we're used to in the afternoon, at least is sympathetic and has an open.
They're getting a bit of a different dose here.
Agreed. And so Allison, I brought up Allison, and I said, now, Allison has called in and talked about this as well. And Allie, you and I host this World of Science, and you know something about cannabis and the advocacy. And what were your thoughts on what he said, even though you did not hear them?
Well, my thoughts were, if in fact you're getting your number correct, and I suspect you are. I know that through hybridization, different strain crossing, et cetera, we've gotten really good at making it get to the point of why we're growing it in the first place. I said hallelujah, because you know what? People who are trying to use it as a medication, who are trying to make sure that they're getting the dose they need without coughing up all the black stuff associated with it, they're happy. Because, you know, they don't want to die of lung cancer just because they need their psychomeds or whatever it is they're using it for. And when you talk about the different strains, you guys group it all in like it's all the same thing. It's not. If you're talking about an indica or a sativa, you're talking about whether it creates one person's stability or creates an instability. These kinds of pieces of information as to where it comes from and why are vital, because it is, in fact, an herbal medication of some powerful, powerful history.
See, and Glenn, this is Tom, and I don't know anything about it, so she seems to know a lot more and has talked about it when we've had joint sessions. And that's why I thought it would be fun to poke at you this morning on my new morning show to talk about your thoughts of it, and maybe you can explain.
Well, it was pretty strong poking. I will say that. I thought that the description of my wife and my relationship was somewhat over the top. But I guess, look, it's fair game. I'm in the public, and I have 9 children, which is not that's not normal.
Do you drink?
Yeah, occasionally, I suppose. I've never had marijuana,
there's
though.
no more discussion, because at some point in history, you would have been a criminal. End of story. And I'm guaranteeing that as an adult of legal age, perhaps 30, 40 years old at the time that prohibition was an issue, you would have made that decision for yourself. Not based on propaganda, not based on some law enforcement media correlation. You would have made that information for yourself. If somebody had brought you a 50-year-old bottle of wine or something that was properly aged, you would have drank it and you would have broken the law.
So, Allison,
Allison,
what do you think about the government being involved in this?
I think it's horrible, actually.
That's my problem with it too.
Yeah, me too.
They've actually
well,
made
let me give my view. First of all, heroin was legal. Cocaine has been legal in the United States and was essentially across the 13 colonies. Drug laws are fairly recent, and people did not view that the government's place was to deign what was legal and what was illegal.
And they've served well to militarize our police forces, I might add.
Yes, I would agree. So here's my view on this. I wanted the decriminalization of it. I'm not interested in sending people to jail for smoking marijuana, but neither am I interested in the commercialization of it.
I agree. It should be a mother's right to grow it in her garden and take all the brownies she wants for her adult family members. And that they're turning into a crime.
Yeah.
WASILA is taking away the ability for these people to eat it. So what they're saying is, here, you have a pass to smoke it as a drug. But the moment that you want to ingest it in some health matter, nope, sorry. It's like the pharmaceutical companies came to them personally and said, hey, make sure the dopers make it look like a big scary thing so everybody in society thinks it's just disgusting. Let's not talk about it replacing construction materials, pharmaceuticals, all sorts of different applications. I can think of several industries that would profit in keeping it very quiet.
Well, I don't think we have as big of a disagreement. And I guess, if society decided to make alcohol illegal, I probably would have followed society's restrictions on it.
What's your favorite food?
Thinking that society at least has some wisdom as to what's good or what's bad. I guess the problem I have right now, I have 2 problems. First of all, they are very close to making people being overweight a disease. And I'm not interested in taking care of people who are doing things of their own volition.
I would agree with you. Did you know that the DSM-5 has also added people who want to eat organic food as a health problem, as a mental illness?
Well, I would be
So now
surprised
you're
they've thrown
actually
everybody else
mentally
off
ill
the
to
mental
prevent
illness
yourself.
list. So that's
And now, Glenn, this is Tom, and I will tell you this. I agree with you. More so, I wanted to hear a dialogue with you and Allison. And with regard, first of all, to your wife and 9 lovely children, no disrespect, and they are all respected and loved. And if we
well,
went too
let's
far,
talk
we
about
certainly
that.
would be-
Allison, I would request that. Generally, in conversation, it is considered bad form to enlist someone's spouse and children in a process. So my guess is that you don't do that normally.
Did I at all?
Oh,
I didn't
yes.
say a word
Yes.
about your. I didn't.
Yes,
say a word.
you claim to know what my off
No,
hours
I
activity
didn't. I
based
was
on the number
told.
of children that I have. That is
I
the
was
direct quote.
told.
Yes, it is.
I was told that you had 9 children. I don't know you from apple butter.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
that's
know
what
you
you
had 9
claimed.
children
You
until I was
claimed that.
told.
I agree. You don't know me from anyone, but you claimed it right on the air on radio.
Well, I can say no. I didn't claim to know you. I said to.
No, you claim
Guess
to know
at
what my
your
after
tax.
hours activities were. I'm just saying that it's bad form
said
for you to
yes. I
invest
made a
your
guess.
time or radio time in that. So hopefully
Okay,
we can
so-
agree on that.
I can agree that I can make a guesstimation based on whatever number situation I like. And if you have 9 children over the course of whatever time frame, it's an easy postulation for me to assume that that's an activity you enjoy. I might be wrong.
No,
But that's my
well,
opinion.
it doesn't. Here's what I'm
Welcome
saying.
to
It doesn't.
Opinion
It
Talk
doesn't
Radio,
matter
sir.
whether you're right or wrong. It matters
Right.
whether or not you're rude. And I would say that you are very rude. And
Well, somebody
I tried to
who gets
correct
up and
you in the
tries
right
to tell
way
everybody
by
else how to
confronting
live is
you,
also rude.
but yet you're not interested in the correction. I accept that for what it is, and I'll let that.
I didn't say anything nasty.
I will
If you
let
think
people.
procreation is a nasty
I will
endeavor,
let
then I
people
don't know what to
judge
tell
you based on us trying to have a conversation, me giving
fair.
what I consider to be a fair correction, and you rejecting it, and that's the way it's.
I don't
be.
think you did anything bad. I simply said I can guess.
I
what
think that it's
you're doing
rude
in
for
the
you
night.
to bring that up on radio.
Well, but it might be rude for somebody else to have brought up that you had 9 kids in the first place. What is that?
I don't
How
think
is that
so. I
relevant
brought
to
up
what you do?
I brought up the fact that I have nine children. I mean,
Well,
it's important.
Glenn, let me toss in here, and I will just say this: that I think in radio, and I know we're almost out of time, and I think in social norms, and I think familial norms, and I mean, I look at my divorces, plural or lifestyle. I think that necessarily those shouldn't be thrown on a plate when you're dialoguing about certain things in radio. But when it comes down to, I think what Allison meant was that all of us have interests and passions and views and philosophies. You're a Catholic, you have 9 kids, everybody has different religions, faith, spirituality. But when it comes to marijuana, oftentimes people say, hey, it's a drug, not you necessarily, but
it's a drug. I claimed
thing.
it was a drug yesterday.
Do you drink coffee?
Similar.
No, but she meant it in a sociological sense, which is everybody has their proclivities, their choices. And
yeah, but it's a little edgy, and it's actually a little more than edgy to bring that up.
It's
In your
edgy
opinion.
to
Okay,
assume
that's
that
fine.
you like to procreate because you do so often.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Hey,
I think we have
talk
had
about
our
this.
discussion. Tom, I really appreciate it. I think you're a fantastic talk show host. I really suggest people get on. Hopefully Allison will drop the other subject, but if she won't, then I will continue to bring it up.
Funny thing
I
to
think
say,
we're good to go on that subject.
I appreciate it, Tom. Thanks very
Keep
much.
it up, Doug. Thank you.
Folks, we are going to have to leave it there. 28 minutes after the hour, the Glen Biegel Show. Give us a call, 569-1080. 26 minutes before the hour, the Glen Biegel Show continues. Now, that's what talk radio is all about. Am I wrong? That's where the rub lies about how you consider things. I mean, frankly, Allison had some great thoughts. Over time, society has changed its mind on all kinds of different things. Different parts of the country have had different laws governing all kinds of different things. I like 50 experiments, right, in liberty. That's what I like. I like that idea. And so I really can't stand federal control. And I think the Republican Party took a dramatically horrible turn when it decided it would start deciding everything from Washington, D.C. for every state, just like the Democrats were trying to do. I'm trying to right that ship. I want states to be able to, if they want marijuana to be legal, I'm willing to accept it. It's going to make my job harder. It's going to make raising kids harder. I accept that. And if it doesn't work out, I expect that we will go back the other way and we will make it illegal again, especially if they start adding other things in. Lots to cover on the program today, but I've got a fantastic person online with me here. Ben Chavis, Dr. Ben Chavis is with me, and he's going to be up here in Alaska with the Alaska Policy Forum. And Dr. Chavis, you are going to do something which I don't know that most people have added up yet, but we cannot survive as the state of Alaska if we continue to spend $2.1 billion on education. Educational choice is the only known way to reduce educational costs and keep the outcomes good.
I agree 100%. We have the best universities in the world in the United States, and they compete with each other. And they are also educational choice. Why is it the teachers union is against K through 12 choice, but it's okay for us to send our kids to a private school like Georgetown University and use public funds, or Duke University or Stanford? They're not against. They're only against choice if it's for relating to their profession. So the choice. We have the best universities in the world and some of the worst public schools in the world. So if we created competition through a voucher, charter schools, private schools, whatever, I just think it would make us better. Universities have proven that. If you look at American universities, they're much better because they're competitive.
I got a question for you, and this is a particular difficulty here in Anchorage, but I don't really think that it's unique to Anchorage. And again, I'm talking to Dr. Ben Chavis coming up here. He's going to give some talks for Alaska Policy Forum. Go out, check out their Facebook page. Try to get to one of his talks because he really does have a lot to say about education. He ran a school. He just has a very long resume for this. Here's my question, and here's my difficulty. We have some really horrible schools here in Anchorage, schools where kids, only 25% are at reading level. I mean, really, really awful, awful schools. Across the state of Alaska, we have some of the worst educational performance, particularly dollar for dollar, of anywhere in the country, really, in a lot of places in the free world. We're that bad. But some schools are top notch. Some of our public schools are excellent. We have something like 95% of its students. Service High School might graduate 82, 83, 84% of its students. A Diamond High School might graduate 87% of its high school students. When we talk about educational performance, and this is my difficulty here, how do I relate it to the people whose schools are doing well?
Well, I think you did a great job of just what you said. There's some great schools. There's some bad schools. There's some good football teams. There's some bad football teams, right? Mm-hmm. I think you did a good job just the way you said it. We're not attacking public education. That's not what we're doing. I believe in public education. I send my kids to public school. It's a charter school, but it is a public school. What we're asking for is more accountability in the area of academic performance. For too long, public schools have gotten away with saying, we need more money. We need more money. That's since 1970s. Really the 60s. After the war on poverty, it just went crazy. The Democrats, they think the answer to everything in education is more money. And that's not true. What it is, I'll be the first to admit, there's some great public schools. But what you're describing in Alaska is not just Alaska. It's nationwide. I'd say if you look at 75% of our, now, and I'm going to focus on high schools in particular, 75% of the public high schools in America are not performing. and we need competition there. As a rule, if you look at K through 6 or K through 5 in the U.S., our kids compete with almost anyone in the world. But once they enter 6th grade, there's a plummet. The academic performance just is dismal. And I just think it's the way we've designed our middle schools. I don't think you could design a better middle school, or if you intentionally sat around and said, let's design a high school and a middle school for our kids, you can design a better system to destroy kids than what we have in America. I don't think you could design it.
Is it the sexuality that's so rampant in schools? I mean, I can't even imagine how distracting all these girls walking around, and really ridiculous clothes, with everything hanging out. I mean, I don't know how people would go to school with that kind of an environment.
It's the same here in North Carolina, where I'm in North Carolina right now, and it's the same in North Carolina where I'm from. You go down to the local school that I attended; it was an all-Indian school, and I look at some of these Indian girls, and let me tell you, I'm Indian, and they're saying, and there's some of the things they're showing. I don't want to see it. It's not a pretty sight when some of them don't have their guts. But no, I think it's the fact that our schools have become our secondary. You cannot take a 10-year-old or 11-year-old child and give them 6 or 7 different teachers, and that's what we've done at our in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade. In North Carolina now, in our school district, when you're in the 4th grade, you have 4 different teachers. I think it's too much for a child. A child needs stability, and I think that's one of our downfalls. And what is this class size? When I was a kid in the 60s, there were 37 kids in my 4th grade class. Look at a picture of a 4th grade. You ever look at some photos of old schools? They have one teacher and 35 kids, and the schools were better then. There was no teacher aides. Now we got teacher aides, security guards, counselors, aides. We got more specialists in schools than you can ever imagine.
Well, what causes the need? Is it a need for that, or is it just that they got so much money that they started figuring, well, how do we build our kingdom just a little bit bigger?
Well, the Democrats have figured out a way how to put all their voters on the payroll. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah. No, the teachers union up here, by the way, if people don't know, is about 10 times more powerful than any other political force. The pro-life forces, the Republican Party, the teachers union, because I think they get $2.1 billion a year of public money. And then from that comes something like $20 million that goes directly to Democrat candidates. About 1% of every Democrat payroll dollar goes to a Democrat candidate, something like that. And so that's an amazing funneling of money.
So now you see why they want, you see why the teachers union are always saying we need to reduce class size. It's good for kids. You ever hear that at the university? When I taught at the university, I had a class with 300 in it. I never heard anybody say reduce class size was good for our kids. As a matter of fact, I enjoyed teaching the class with 300 more than I did the class with 15. There is no correlation that if you have 37 kids in a class versus 20, that the 20 are going to perform better. As a matter of fact, what we need to do is we need to put kids where they belong. What we've done with all this liberal nonsense, we'll have a kid who is counting on his toes with kids who can do algebra. What we need to do is we need to put kids where they belong instead of saying everybody's equal, because they're not all equal. We're not all Michael Jordans. We need to track kids, especially in the area of math. And it's not illegal to track. We have a starting 5 in basketball. Isn't that tracking? We have a starting football team. Those are the starters. Are they tracked? It's ridiculous that tracking is illegal or that tracking is discrimination. Tracking, what we've done is in our school, you can go into a geometry class or a calculus class, and you got kids in there who can't even do calculus. It's stupid. We just throw them all in these classes.
It's kind of foolishness is really what it is. I do wonder, you talked about money, that they keep asking for more money. And what I think they're asking for when they ask for more money, because when they get so much of it, I think the cost per student here in the city of Anchorage is about $18,500 per student. When they ask for that much money, what they really want is they want control.
Right.
That's much more powerful than money. Because in the end, if you've taken all the money so nobody can afford to go to any other school, well, now I think we have one of the highest public education rates in the country. 95% of every student goes to a public school because they have all the money and nobody can afford to send their kids to a private school. Although that's just what they think, by the way, Dr. Chavis. I sent 4 of my kids to a private school, and I didn't think I could. But you know what? When it became important enough, it's 1/3 the cost.
Oh, yeah. Why don't we give, why is it that I can get a voucher to attend Duke University, financial aid, but my child cannot get a voucher who's K through 12 to attend a local Catholic school because of the teachers union. That's all it's about.
When did the teachers union, by the way, become so anti-Christian? And do they understand that they are, or is it just the elite upper echelon that is that way?
Well, not only are they
anti-religion.
Here's what it is. If you study capitalism, which comes from Christianity, they're against Christianity. They're against capitalism. They're against anything related to God. They would like to destroy capitalism. I mean, look at.
Well, when did it happen? I got to bring you back. Can you be with me, Dr. Chavis?
I think about 1964 myself with this war on poverty.
All right. Well, hold on. Can I hold you over?
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. All right. Dr. Ben Chavis is on with me, a nationally known person in education, and he has done more in education than most people, most every teacher that you will ever meet has ever done, more than any principal has ever done, more than any superintendent has ever done, more than the State Board of Education chair has ever done. Dr. Chavis is that important of a person for how much change he has brought to education and to people's lives. So I'm so glad to have you on with us. Dr. Chavis will be back with him just after the break. You're listening to the Glen Biegel Show. 569-1080 is the number if you have a question for Dr. Chavis. And in the Valley, 357-5868. It's your afternoon drive, folks. You're listening to the Glen Biegel Show here in Anchorage and in the Mat-Su. Stay tuned. I'm just hearing the.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah. Hi, Dr. Chavis.
Yes.
I'm just testing here. You're in the middle of a test. We started this program just a few weeks ago. I've been on the air for 10 years, but we moved over here to the new station. And my producer is a little new, so she's got the technical master over showing her how to do what we're doing right now, which is for me to talk to you through my headphones and my radio microphone while we're playing commercials and all kinds of other things.
Okay.
So you're going to be up here in Alaska in a little while.
This Thursday and Friday I'll be there. Friday and Saturday.
Okay, yeah, and I'm going to go see you on Friday. I got a thing going on at church on Thursday, so I'm going to try and get out and see you on Friday in Palmer at the Moose Lodge, I think is where you're going to be.
Yes, sir.
Now,
your question, I think if we can get back to your question once we get started again. But when did all this start? It was 1964 with War on Poverty, which really was war on religion, war on capitalism. That's what it was all about.
Wow.
Right?
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we'll definitely get back to that. I wanted to talk to you also about, you talked about academic performance several times, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on why students do well in schools of choice. And, what is the magic? There must be something. You don't have to answer now, but
I can tell you why.
think of that. So when we come back, I wanted to talk to you about that. And what's that? Oh, 30 seconds. Okay. Well, I'm going to leave it there, and then we'll be right back with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ten minutes before the hour, the Glen Biegel Show continues at KOAN and KVNT. If you're looking for a new roof, and this could be on your business, on your industrial property, or on your home, Earhart Roofing can take care of you. 345-5555. That is the number to get you to the best roofing company, frankly, the best business in Alaska. It's an amazing accomplishment. Better Business Bureau Business of the Year for all businesses in the entire state of Alaska for 2010. I would venture to say that this has never happened before to a roofing company, and it probably will never happen again. It's very, very difficult. You have to have such high standards to be able to meet everyone's expectations every time, but that is exactly what Earhart Roofing does. They will give you a free re-roofing estimate. It's just a phone call away, 345-5555. And when you think roofing, think Earhart, EARHART. I am on the air here with Dr. Ben Chavis, and he is coming up at the request of the Alaska Policy Forum. And he's going to be up here on Thursday and Friday. And I'm going to go out and try and see you out at Palmer on Friday. I've got something going on at church on Thursday. So I figured I'd come out and see you. I think you're at the Moose Lodge in Palmer on Friday.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it, seeing you.
Well, you gave us a bit of your history as an educator, and you, if I recall correctly, you made the highest performing school in all of California.
Yes.
How does one, and you said that, look, you will not come to my school if you do not have food. If your parents have not prepared food for you, you must go home again.
Well, no, what I did is I said, if you come to school without a lunch, I'm not going to give you a free lunch. That's what I said.
Okay.
Now, I didn't send them back home. I don't believe in sending
Okay, you didn't send them back home. So I had that wrong.
No.
I'm trying to remember because it was a couple of years ago and I heard you.
Right.
So now what's the purpose of that? Why is it so important that the parent be doing that for the children?
Well, I didn't even say parent. Now, I was a principal of a middle school and a high school. If you're a sixth grader and you can't make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you shouldn't be in the sixth grade. I don't think it's your mama's job. I don't think it's your daddy's job. Now, that's my philosophy. My kids, when they were small, when they were young, guess what? They fixed their own lunch for school.
I did too. My mom never would have made. In fact, I would have hated if my mom tried to make me a sandwich because she was terrible. She kept making me peanut butter and honey sandwiches on wheat bread, and they were terrible.
Yeah, and I think that's part of student responsibility. So if a kid comes to school and they don't have a lunch, they can't call mom and say, I wouldn't let them get on the phone and call mom and say, bring me a lunch. What I was trying to teach them is when you go to school, your lunch is your responsibility. And if you didn't bring it, too bad, and you won't forget it next time. But also, there's another lesson. If you didn't bring lunch, you need to work out something with one of your buddies to share their food with you. That was my whole philosophy was there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I'm trying to, even lunch was used as a mechanism to teach. And people say, well, some of these families are so poor, there's families starving in America. As Ronald Reagan said, if anybody's starving in America, they must be on a diet. I am American Indian, and I live in an Indian community in North Carolina, and we are overweight. We are not missing any meals. I would love to meet a starving American. And these families where they say, well, these kids, they come home and their families the parents are spending all the money on drugs. They're spending, well, wait a minute. That means there's plenty, there's food you can eat at school. You can, in our county, everyone eats free in North Carolina. In the school district, in my county, every child is eligible for free lunch.
That's what they've gone to here. And we have one of the lowest incidents, by the way, of poverty in the entire country here in the city of Anchorage. But we have about 50% of the entire school district for the Anchorage School District is eligible for free and reduced price lunches.
Well, that's a scam in itself, free and reduced lunch. Now, what that is, this is another Democratic scam. They go by supposedly if you qualify for poverty, but schools, and I had to do this. I had to send home a form every year to each child. The parents had to sign and say how much money they made. If they made, and what we would say, if you make below $16,000 and there's 3 in your family, you qualify for free lunch. We literally were directing them to fill out that. That's the way the district does it, because there's no documentation required. It's like a self-report. Districts bribe kids to get their parents to fill it out and fill it out incorrectly, because then the district will get free and reduced money from the state, and they'll get about $1,800 per child from the federal government if they fill out this form.
But Dr. Chavis, we lose something whenever we lie.
Oh, yeah.
And isn't that really the most important lesson that child is learning? That I get along in this world by lying.
Well, I think that I don't blame it on the children. What happens is the teachers union and the school districts know they're going to get more money if they say the families are poor. Now, I don't know what's considered the poorest high school in Anchorage. Next time you drive by that high school, I'm going to prove to you that those kids are not poor. Go in the parking lot and take a photo of the cars.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I live in North Carolina at Purnell Sweat High School, an Indian school, Indian community. I was over there, and kids are driving. Now, we don't have casinos either. These Indians, we're supposedly the poorest county in the state, and these Indians are driving BMWs. I saw a Hummer there. I'm visiting the school. Kids have all kind of sports cars. Go to bus to school or walk. Mm-hmm. Now they drive to school. Look at the parking lot for the students. If we're so poor in America, how come all these high school kids have cars now?
It is something that doesn't add up, and I'll tell you, this is what I hear when I hear you talk, and I hear it every time. I hear the heart of a teacher. I hear somebody's got his head screwed on straight, and he knows how to let other people know how to get their educational systems to respond and become the kinds of things which teach children the main rules in life and the most important rules in life. And right. For that, I hope people get a chance to go and listen to you. Dr. Ben Chavis is going to be with us on Thursday and on Friday. So I hope you, Friday out in Palmer and Thursday here at APU, he's going to be here in Anchorage. So I hope people get a chance to go listen to you, Dr. Chavis.
Look forward to it. Thank
you so much. You're listening to the Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN and KVNT. It's Tuesday. It's just Tuesday. We've only gotten to Tuesday already, but it's very exciting. I don't know. Just being on the radio and being able to talk to all you fine people is a great pleasure for me. I hope you give me a call, 569-1080, 357-5868. Hope you're having a great drive home, folks. All you people in the Mat-Su and in Anchorage, it's the Glen Biegel Show. 5 minutes after the hour, welcome to your drive home. It is the Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN and KVNT. Hope you give me a call. Actually, we'll be with Senator Giesel here in just a little while. She wrote, as she always does, a very well thought out and something that kind of needs to be answered in my mind, at least brought up and discussed piece, and it played in Alaska Pipeline, the KTUU site about politics. The hour sponsor for this hour of the program is one of my favorite people. He's a conservative dentist, and he's the one person everyone needs in their life. And that's kind of a strange thing to say. You'd think, well, I mean, what is the one person everybody? It just turns out to be a conservative dentist. You're just going to have to trust me on that. His name is Dr. Dan Kiley, and he runs a practice over at lakeotisdental.com, 4050 Lake Otis Parkway, and 562-9209. He's great at what he does, and he only does what is absolutely necessary. He's got a great staff to take care of you. All different kinds of dentistry he can handle. 562-9209 will get you over to Dr. Dan Kiley. And if you become a patient of his, you will find out what is on the ceiling of a conservative dentistry, which is an important piece of information to know. Let me go to one of my favorite people, and one of the people who I am expecting will become more and more important as we move through the regular session and then what sounds to be a special session. Senator Kathy Giesel, welcome.
Well, hi, Glenn.
You are, I would imagine, in the midst of something unique in state history, and that is what is playing out in my mind down in Juneau is you're deciding who is going to pay. How much will we take? Because we're no longer, there's no money left on the table after we run out of this huge reserve fund that we have in the next 3 years or so. Somebody's going to have to pay the bill if we don't cut government.
Well, yes, it's actually a great opportunity to reassess the size of government and to right-size it based on what the citizens have identified as the services they want us providing. They want government providing. Remember that government only has a power that's delegated to it by the governed. So citizens are speaking up about, well, I want you to cut this, I want you to cut that, but keep this. So, I mean, it's a good conversation and it's an opportunity.
Well, I like it. Here's something I dreamed up. Tell me whether or not I'm crazy. I dream up these things all the time, Kathy, and I think it's because I don't sleep very much.
Yes, this is bad, very bad.
I know it's a very bad habit.
Yes.
What if we passed a constitutional amendment that said you cannot increase the budget past the next highest spending state in the country without a vote of the people?
Well, that really wouldn't make sense because, excuse me, I have this bad cold, because we are, frankly, we're different, right? And so to base what we spend on what another state spends doesn't make much sense. I would agree that we shouldn't spend more than the revenue we bring in. In other words, we don't put ourselves into a place of going into debt.
Isn't that going to just raise taxes on the oil industry or whatever businesses, or they're going to pass all kinds of state income taxes, sales taxes, property taxes? I mean, when they come at us, this is my thought. Senator Giesel, who's on the Glen Biegel Show here, 569-1080. When they say we run out of money and they haven't cut the budget, obviously this governor is not all that serious about cutting the budget unless he comes up with much, much, much larger cuts than what he has already shown us. When he says, tomorrow I will be closing half the schools in the state of Alaska, or you can implement an income tax, what is your decision? And I'm worried that we will, because we have not prepared, because we have not done what is right and decided on a rational reduction for the size of government, that at that point, we're going to make the wrong decision.
Well, here's the deal. I've asked citizens, I was home on this last weekend, and I had done an online poll of my district. And in asking my constituents what their priorities are out of a list of things, number one, their priority was a robust Alaska economy. Number two was state spending and its reduction. And number 3 was federal overreach and our access to our lands. So these are citizens that are giving me this feedback.
Listen to them.
It's pretty smart feedback, in my opinion.
I like those people. I like those
Exactly.
people, yes.
And so when I ask them the question, if our revenues are falling, what should we do first? Reduce spending or institute new taxes? 73% of the respondents said reduce spending by 25%. After that, a third of them said implement a state sales tax, and then 29% said a state income tax, and then 10% said increase taxes on businesses. So vast majority said, don't give us more new taxes until you reduce spending.
Can I ask you this, and you tell me whether or not this is completely irrational? Our governor has stated many times that he intends to cut the budget 25% over the next 4 years. People did not expect that that was the administration budget or the department budget, but that was government. The size of government would be reduced by 25% over the next 4 years in real terms. Can you just say, Governor, we are going to hold you to your promise. We are going to line item reduce every single department, everything, by 8% unless you tell us where you want the cuts to come from other than the 8% that we are just going to hold you to?
Well, the legislature is the appropriator. So at the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, we hold the purse strings. And so that's what we're working on. The House is working on it right now, very hard on the operating budget, and then they'll send it over to us. And the Senate side will also look at these cuts and probably make more.
But Senator Giesel, how can you guarantee that you're going to be protecting critical state services if the governor won't play ball? He has to tell you, this is how much money I need in order to provide critical state services. If he won't do that, I just don't know how it's going to work.
Well, actually, we know what different departments are doing, and those departments come before the finance subcommittees. I serve on 3 finance subcommittees:
Wow.
Natural resources, environmental conservation, and health. So we're going to have those commissioners before us. We will have the details of their budget, and we will dig into it. And that's what the House is doing right now. So we don't need the governor to tell us.
All
what
right.
he
Well,
needs.
Kathy Giesel, Senator Giesel, I wish you well. I know you will do well. Thank you so much for coming on once we're out of time.
You bet. Thanks,
Thank you. The Glen Biegel Show. Stay tuned. 16 minutes after the hour, the Glen Biegel Show continues. I would love to talk to you. We're going to be with David Neese here in just a minute, and he's doing what seems to be the impossible lately, which is to go up against the teachers union and put somebody who is going to listen to the public rather than the special interests on the Board of Education. I do have a really hard question for David Neese, and I'm going to be interested to see how he answers it. Before I get to him, let me tell you about my friends at Country Financial. If you are interested in helping to plan out your life and having a professional do that, you know, what does your life look like? The whens of life. When I'm ready to retire, what do I need? How will that look? The ifs. If I have a problem now, how do I protect my family? How do I make sure that I do not lose all of my assets if something really terrible does happen? Insurance. If you don't get somebody who's good at this, and really having somebody local is so much better than having to call up, you know, some national chain where you're just going to talk to the phone. Having somebody local, being able to look across them face to face, they walk you through all these questions. It takes about 2 hours. It's a very serious process. It's probably one of the more serious processes that you'll go through in your life. But they do a great job at Country Financial in doing that. 866-COUNTRY is their number. 866-COUNTRY, and country is spelled
COUNTRY.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Bonnie. Let me go to the phones here and talk to David Neese. David, you are running for school board. What would make somebody think that they can go up against the special interests and win?
Well, I think there's probably more taxpayers in Anchorage that look at that little green card in the springtime and go, why is half of this going to the school district?
I would imagine you're right. And if people would go vote, and we're going to have a mayoral race, so there's going to be a huge turnout, and a lot of those people who pay taxes will vote this time. So you're running in exactly the right race. Give me a very brief recital of why you're running and what you hope to accomplish, and then I'll ask you my difficult question.
Oh, okay. You didn't tell me there was going to be a test, but I'm running because the ASDs, they went ahead and passed a budget that they boosted, and it's unsustainable. I mean, it just, every time you turn around, it's like, oh, we're out of money, and then they turn around and get money. So we'll have to see what happens.
Well,
I think it's time to change. They keep steering the same direction. We keep yelling iceberg, and it's not going to be pretty.
No. Well, and this is truly different. We simply cannot have a school board who is not going to be giving us different educational choices. Here's my difficult question.
Okay.
Is there anything on earth that will prevent you, should you be on the Anchorage School District School Board, from providing an educational option to every child in the state of Alaska? Is there any force on earth that would prevent you from doing that?
No.
Yeah.
It's an easy one. I mean, the hard part is, you know, half of the budget for the ASD comes from the state, a little over half, probably closing in on 80%. The rest comes from local things. So you have to have the options. What drives me crazy is you have parents and parents and parents and parents trying to get into every optional program. You have a new program, Anchorage Stream Academy, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And the district says, well, you can have that program. We've approved your thing. Now just go find yourself a 20,000 square foot building and have it back to us by February 15th. And
and you get to pay for that too. And we're going to take that out of your budget, which is already reduced.
Yeah, we're going to rent. We're going to pay the rent.
So you're going to get a better option, but we're going to take a whole bunch of money away from you and make it a lot harder. That really seems like good management.
And we'll fund you at 80 cents on the dollar for each child you take into your program. Yeah.
And your parents have to deliver your children. I want to go back to the question that I asked you, because I don't know that people understood it. Are we or are we not constitutionally required as Alaskans to provide an education to every child in the state of Alaska? Yes or no?
We are constitutionally required to provide a free educational opportunity to every child in the state of Alaska. Is there
anything in the state of Alaska, is there anything on earth that will prevent you from carrying out that duty to each and every child who is in the state of Alaska, should you be on or in the Anchorage School District? Is there anything that would prevent you from carrying out that duty?
There's a constitutional prohibition from allowing money to go to private schools. That's currently in the way of opening the option to parents so they can get some of their house taxes back and use it for the private school education, or vouchers or whatever you want to call it. That's the only barrier.
Okay, so there's nothing, you are going to carry out your constitutional responsibility to provide an education to every child. I think a lot of people get confused on this, and what they think is, if a conservative gets in there, what they're going to be doing is removing children from the educational opportunities that are guaranteed in our Constitution. That's not your intent. That's not where you're coming.
No. What you do is, and you keep missing one of the key words there: a free education.
Yep.
A free education. And when you're forcing parents outside of the box to provide a pay education, then if they choose not to take the free and they want to do a pay, that's been the argument that people have been using for years, is they're choosing to self-segregate away from the regular population. Well, that just means that you believe the state is the supreme being and the parents are not in the child's life.
And you don't see that. You see the parents more as the director.
You know what? When they go to a funeral, they don't go to the state's funeral. They go to the parents' funeral because that's the person that had the most impact in their life.
Yeah.
And they're never going to show up for a state funeral. When communism fell in New York, nobody showed up for that. And if you look at a system as a socialist system, the socialist system says you are the parent of the child. And if you look at a state school system, that's the argument that people use that say, oh, no, you can't have choice. You can't have any option. That's just it.
Well, I hope people realize that the educational options that are there are going to continue, that we're not talking about dramatic change. Some people who are in failing schools, though, they could see their lives dramatically improve or their educational opportunities dramatically change.
Yeah, and I think the guest you had on earlier, Dr. Chavez, showed really substantially. You can take the people that just are doomed, according to the education people that are in charge. They're just doomed. They've got a bad upbringing. They don't have enough money. They're just not going to do well.
They're poor.
But if you take them and put them in a place where they like going to school, they do fine.
Dr. Ben Chavis was on, and he's going to be here in town on Thursday and out in Palmer on Friday. And I'm going to go catch the Friday one because I got a church thing coming up on Thursday. But he took a school, I think that was like 90%, between 80 and 90% poor, disadvantaged children, racial disadvantages, whatever it is that the school system segregates people into, and turned it into the highest performing school in the entire state of California. To me, that is a record of success where people should stand up and go, you know what, maybe conservatives can do a good job guiding our school system.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you tell people they're not going to succeed because of where they live in town or how much their parents make or how troubled their childhood is, that's not the system you want in place. And that's the system we have in place, because you get more money from the federal government if you have 30% of your school to 70% of your school qualify as financially at risk, disadvantaged economically, then you get more money for them. So the idea is always make sure you got at least 30% of them in the school.
So even if you got to lie, even if you got to shade the truth, even if you got to sort of give them forms and help them, quote, help them fill it out the right way.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you turn schools into free lunch because you have the option, that just generates more money because, gee whiz, all of a sudden everybody qualifies as economically disadvantaged.
Well, what do you think about Dr. Chavis's approach, which was, look, it's not up to your parents to make your sandwich. You will come to school with a sandwich that you have made. It's your responsibility. And I'm not going to allow you to call your parent if you didn't make your own food.
Yeah, I like the Robert Heinlein always said, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. And, that's kind of where Chavez is. It's like it's a bootstrap approach. It doesn't say you're a hand out. Up, not a handout.
Yeah, but that's a total difference of approach between liberals who see, oh, well, somebody might come to school hungry, and you say, what are you talking about? These parents are responsible for their own children, which includes, as I recall, feeding them. So if they can't feed their own children, you got much bigger problems. Why break your school for somebody's broken family? And you probably just made up the problem anyway.
Well, yeah, and the state usually takes care of the people that are economically disadvantaged and provides them with money to feed the children.
How much money does it actually cost to make a bologna sandwich, honestly?
Not much.
Not a whole lot. I would guess about 30 cents a day.
I'm a PBJ fan, so I don't know.
Oh, I love
bologna
this.
right now.
You haven't had Miracle Whip. I'm guessing you have not had Miracle Whip before.
Yeah, I have friends that love Miracle Whip.
Oh my
but,
gosh, it's so much better than mayonnaise on bologna.
I agree with you. I like Miracle Whip.
All right.
So, anyways, the thing is that you have this, and this exact debate came up Monday on the House floor, where Lynn Gaddis just basically had a resolution that said, the state of Alaska is celebrating all the types of choice we have in our schools: public, private, religious, charter, optional, and we're celebrating our teachers, and we're celebrating, the fact that school choice is good for children.
It's diversity.
It's diversity, and 14 people yesterday in the House got up and argued that this is the worst thing that's ever happened, and it's a sneak attack, and we're attacking teachers, and we're attacking the institution, and you've got to save the post office is kind of like what the argument was. So,
but don't they know that school choice is great for teachers? Have they not gotten the memo that when you teach a school full or a classroom full of children who want to be there and whose parents love the way you teach as a teacher, and they selected you and picked you, that your life improves dramatically?
Well, I think what it is they don't realize that the reason parents get in cars and drive their kids to schools of choice in the ASD or private schools is because they want to be there. And nothing, and you can go in your own life, nothing that you don't want to be there. Can be a lecture, could be a meeting for your staff early in the day. Anything you're forced to go to that you may not want to go to is not
it makes all the difference in the world. Choice makes all the difference in the world. David Nees, thanks so much for being on. Good luck running for school board, and I'm sure we'll have you back on before the race is over.
Thank you, Glenn.
28 minutes after the hour, the Glen Biegel Show. I'm enjoying your drive home. Give me a call, 569-1080, 357-5868. 26 minutes before the hour. You look marvelous with that radio on. That's what I wanted to tell you. Got the top of the news to cover with you. It looks like the Senate Republicans are going to cave on immigration, and the Department of Homeland Security, apparently, for some reason, they fear shutting down the government. Why would they fear that? They shut down the government. You remember this. They shut down the government about a year before the election. And what people remembered was Republicans are fighting to keep government smaller. They didn't remember any of the pain, and there really wasn't any pain. I think they shut down a couple of the national monuments just because they wanted to be mean, just because they wanted to pay somebody extra to go put up barriers and then pay them extra to go take them down. It actually costs money to shut down the national monuments in the evil Obama administration. Well, anyway, the Republican, there's a picture of Mitch McConnell, and right behind him is Lisa Murkowski. I don't know whether she just got caught in the crosshairs of the picture, but I'm reading a little bit more into it than that. She wanted to cave on immigration funding as well. I remember her giving a speech to the there's some group of churches that are here about immigration, and they basically essentially want open borders. And she went and agreed with 6 of their 7 principles and then hedged on the 7th one. And that was her approach. It basically said, we have open borders. Anybody can come here. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't want any limits on the number of people. I want your families to be able to come over here. And that was her approach to it. Mitch McConnell announces a vote on a clean Department of Homeland Security funding is coming. They have given the Democrats everything they want. You know why? Because he made a stupid promise. He's a bad leader. What he promised was, I am not going to shut down the government. What he should have said was, if the Obama administration goes to extremes and will not send out Social Security checks, then I will agree to fund the government. But until then, we are going to talk about what size government Republicans want, not what size government Democrats demand. And in their extremism, we will give in, and we will hope that you understand the level of extremism that we have been facing from these Democrats all these years, when they never passed a budget. They never told us what they were going to spend things on in order to keep Obamacare going, in order to keep this horrible law. And people are finding out this year just how horrible it is, that they would have shut down every other part of the government, every part. And we cannot allow that. So we will wait for a president, but we wanted you to know that we are serious about reducing government in its size. Now, they're not serious about that, at least not Mitch McConnell. So hopefully they will find a new Senate leader, maybe our senator would be a good choice for that. I recommend Kathy Giesel's piece out in the AK Pipeline, competing LNG pipeline projects not in Alaska's interest. She's got a strong position on that. She was on the program a little earlier today. Love to hear from you, 569-1080, and also out in the Valley, 357-5868. Let me go to Anand. Anand, welcome to the program. It's nice to talk to you.
Absolutely, man. So let me just start off the conversation with a simple question. Did you wake up in the morning, roll a joint, and smoke it? Legalization Day, happy Legalization Day.
Did I forget to turn off my video on my monitor? I keep doing that, and I know you're watching me, and it's really starting to creep me out. No, not that I know of. I don't think I've ever done that.
So you didn't feel this compelling urge to smoke because it's legal?
Woohoo! It's legal. That means it's good.
Hey, why else would the government let us do something like that? Because, see, the Democrat government always tells us, all the good things that we need to be doing, right?
Yep. So yeah, they legislate what goodness is. They're not going to let you give private charity, so they'll take your money and they'll give, quote, public charity, which looks like subsidy and ruin as far as I'm concerned, since it breaks families.
So here's another comment I had. I've been hearing all this conversation talk. Great points by Dr. Chavez. Absolutely stunning speaker, right? And he's been saying stuff that I've been saying, and of course I'm sure he said it before, but those were my observations as a first generation immigrant coming to this country where I have really seen poverty, like, in a third world country, when people are starving, you see their ribs. Malnourishment is a scientific word, I suppose. I mean, it means something.
Yeah.
And it is difficult to see malnourishment in America.
Yeah, you walk around, the poorest people are the heaviest people that are around because they eat more than everyone else. They eat worse food, and they get less exercise because they're watching TV all day.
Right. So, I mean, there's some sort. What it might be, like, that's a larger debate. But seriously, the comment I have here is this, man. What people need to see clearly is that there's a monopoly here in education. And
I don't like monopolies on it. I got to tell you, I don't like monopolies in cars. I don't like monopolies. I don't like monopolies for my internet browser. I don't like monopolies at all.
That's it. And think of it this way. Now, what if there was a single cell phone carrier, and that cell phone carrier had formed a union, and they were now lobbying to not even let the law get changed, so that you would only have a single cell phone carrier? Yeah. How many people would stand up for that?
I would say that they would be all by themselves. That there would be nobody else who would say, well, that doesn't even make sense. Why should we let you, who are already getting paid, why should we let you maintain this monopoly? They're not good. Everybody knows that.
It isn't just a simple monopoly. It's a monopoly of people that are forcing their existence on me. So if I refuse to pay my property tax, the 50% of it that let's just goes to the school district, I would probably have the police on my door pretty quickly, and it would be taken away from me by force, right?
That's right. If you didn't pay what the school tax was in order to continue to fund this publicly guaranteed monopoly, and they would either take your house, or they would take your property, or they would take you.
That's it. And then in the whatever else I would be labeled as. But so let's just follow the train of thought. So it's by force that I have no say in this. And then, interestingly enough, this monopoly is being serviced. The people are also a monopoly. The unions that are servicing this. Now they have political clout, where they're now gathering money and also buying the political system. See what I'm saying? How
so they have a constitutionally guaranteed monopoly. Then they roll that monopoly into a political monopoly, the most powerful political force by far of any union, of any force in the state of Alaska, any ideology.
And here's the difference. And you keep hearing things, well, but oil companies also have their, like, blah blah blah.
Teachers unions way more powerful than the oil companies.
But here's the thing, man.
Because oil companies don't have a monopoly, and a constitutionally guaranteed government based monopoly.
That's it. If things are not working out, they simply cease to exist. Yeah. Are they supported by force? See what I'm saying? These guys are forcing us to support them by taking money away. And here's the penultimate thing for me. I don't know if you've heard it, but the school district has been playing ads on radio. Basically, it's this visit the school a month.
Oh, yeah, and the kids come out at the end of the thing, and they say, oh, we love you. Thank you for supporting us. But look, that's a political statement, is it not?
That's it. That's a political ad. That was my point. And I'm thinking to myself, now they're taking my money and they're running an ad with it.
So they got a monopoly. They're taking your money. They're running ads with it. Look, all of this is very, very difficult Hey, Anand, I gotta run on to other callers. Thanks so much for bringing that up. Let me go to Clarion Call. Clarion Call, welcome to the Glen Biegel Show. Nice to have you.
Yes, I actually missed you being on the other station. It doesn't come as clearly in my area where you are now, but this is my first time calling on this.
Oh, well, you know what? First of all, try the FM. If you can get us on 95.1, that's good. 1080. And I take it you're in Anchorage?
No, we're actually between Los Angeles and Palmer.
Okay, and so you're on 1020 out there or 92.5?
I can't get you on either of them, but today I tuned into the website.
Okay, and that's really a great place to get us because that comes in total stereo and it's actually product. So I'm really glad you went there. 1080kon.com. So thanks, Clarion Call.
Well, what I wanted to comment on is there's the phrase free education to all in Alaska. It's very deceptive terminology, and I've been interested in getting detailed information. Where is the breakdown of all the costs of the education, including the health care for individual teachers. This subject came I'm very interested in this because when you were on the other program, my husband and I, we switched to a private, it was a faith-based private
I have got to find out more about that, by the way. I'm really hoping that when you get off with me, I want Bonnie to take your name. And if it's not you who I should talk to, I really want to talk to somebody about that because I've heard something about it and I don't really understand it, but I want to know more. So
yeah, well, we saved $7,000 a year.
Gosh.
And my husband and I, the two of us, we're empty nesters now. We pay, we have a better plan, lower deductible, and we pay under $4,000 a month for the two of us. My son
under
and
4,000 a month or under 400 a month?
Under 4,000. No, I'm sorry. Under 400 a month. It's under 4,000.
I was going to say that's 50,000 a year. Holy smokes!
Yeah.
Okay. No. I thought that's what you meant.
A year.
Oh wow.
So then when I heard Alaska Policy Forum on the talk radio, I called up and we need to see this verified in paper, and I want on paper. We need to see all these breakdowns of the cost of what education really is. It's not free. From what I understand, I was told that yet see it on paper that one teacher's cost for health insurance is between $18,000 and $21,000 a year.
Yeah. And that's just the subsidy that the school district pays. They now pay something like $1,500 or $1,800 a month just in subsidy. The teacher also has to pay above and beyond that because it's such an incredibly badly managed program on behalf of the teachers union.
One person,
each teacher,
even include any family members.
And here is the shocking thing: even if the teacher is not on the teachers union supplied health care, the school district will still pay the subsidy on behalf of that teacher who's not even on the program.
So if there was across the board privatization and the choice of the teacher, the individual, whether a teacher, any state employee, any individual, they would find their own health insurance. It would be privatized. You'd also have you would protect your privacy of your information. And then
I have a feeling that's one option. Clarion Call. That's one option, but I have a feeling they're going to be shoved out under Obamacare. I'm going to put you back on hold, and Bonnie's going to pick you up. You're listening to the Glen Biegel Show. This is your drive home. I'll take a wild guess that while we were on commercial break, because something's happened here, it's gone completely dark. Either that or somebody shut off the lights while I wasn't.
Yeah, it is really dark in there for some reason.
I've lost my mouse. I'm trying to find the paper that I'm writing on. You're listening to the Glen Biegel Show, KON and KVNT, your ride home for your afternoon, and it's a great pleasure to be on with you. We've got Tom Anderson on in the morning, and we had a pretty fiery conversation with him and Allison. They were discussing things about marijuana. Legalization happened today. Actually, commercialization happened today, and that's marking the third state in our country that has legalized a major class of drugs. And I'm sure we will be living with a fallout of that, and we'll see what that leads us to. Let me tell you about a place that I really do trust, and I've learned more about car sales and the business that they're in, how to get a good car. I knew that I had failed many times. I call myself a Craigslist loser because I kept thinking, if I just go out to Craigslist, I'm going to find the greatest car deal in the history of the planet. As it turns out, what I found was a bunch of average cars that broke down pretty regularly. If you want a good car at a great price, Payless Car Sales, they've got their own mechanics. They buy a lot of these cars from down south, so they go down, find the best cars that they can find down south, and they bring them here. They're fixed. They're brought completely up to spec, and then they're put on their lot. Every one of their cars is listed below NADA, and this is the shocking thing. They will actually do your taxes free and then apply if you want to buy one of their cars. They'll do your taxes free one way or the other. You can apply your tax refund to the car. It's a great offer. 677 Auto, 919 East 5th Avenue, and some people who I really trust. And that, to me, is saying something. Ali and his staff over there, JC and Oscar Russell, so many guys who they just sell cars a different way. And I think when you go and talk to them, you'll find that out. 677 Auto, Payless Car Sales, online at paylesssales.com. Love to hear from you. Let me go back to the phones. Been a pretty lively discussion. Karen, welcome to KOAN and KVNT.
Hello, Glenn.
Hi.
Hey, I just wanted to call and say that I was glad to hear David Nees is again running for the school board. He would be a great asset. We do need some more conservative members on the school board.
At least we could have one. At least we'd have one person talking sense and not just buying into Common Core and buying into changing out our curriculum every time some PhD wanders by and says, hey, I got a great new math program for you.
I kind of call some of those people overeducated idiots, but
that is a great point because you cannot think the crazy things they do. We got educated, the ABCs, simple, phonics, all the basics, right? That's how we got educated. Then they started changing everything so parents couldn't understand it. They basically wrote parents out of the educational process. Stupidest thing they have ever done, Karen.
Well, what I've been asking of Mayor Sullivan since 2010, I have been asking him since then for a full, complete outside audit of ASD. I have never seen that. So I'm just going on the record to say that I'm voting for Amy Dombowski, who has informed me, that I did not know ahead of time, that a mayor has line item veto over the ASD budget. Did you know that?
I did not. So would she have the ability to reduce the ASD budget or just line item block it out, saying I reject this until you give me an audit or something like that?
Let's bring her on and ask her.
Well, look, it's a great question. I've had her on before. I'm sure I'll have her on again and try and figure that out. There has to be some controls on the system. The problem is, Karen, the Anchorage School District went from like 200 million, 300 million, 400 million, 500 million. They're up to $850 million. They're closing in on $1 billion for 46,000 students. Who the heck has that kind of money?
Well, that's what my point is. Us taxpayers are seeing that when we get our property taxes every year.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, what is your thought on this? And I would like some other people's feedback. What about taxpayers with no kids in the school getting a property tax exemption because we're not using the brick and mortar schools or the charter schools and anything in ASD? Why should we be paying for those? We don't even agree with them, most of us, ideologically. So
I tell you what, the teachers union just got really mad at you.
Well, I'm sure they did. And guess what?
that means good.
Hey, I appreciate it, Karen. Thanks so much. My thought on it, by the way, is we're all in this somewhat together. And your kids may have gone through the Anchorage School District long ago. I've never had my kids in the Anchorage School District, nor would I. My culture, my ideas, my views that God is a centerpiece of life and not just something to be forgotten or ridiculed or made less, made low. Look, that's my judgment, and it's important to me. So I send my kids to a different school. I pay their taxes. I understand that that's kind of a deal. I would like this, though, Karen. This is what I would suggest. How about we allow you to dedicate your percentage of taxes that would normally go to whatever school the Anchorage School District wants to send the money to? You can direct your tax money to go to the school of your choice so that you say, you know what, Holy Rosary Academy is a great place, or Lumen Christi is a great place, or wherever. You pick the school. And you say, I want more kids to be able to go here. I'm dedicating my tax revenue to this school. This is my school of choice, even though I don't have any children. I think that would be totally fair. I think that would work great. Let me go back to the phones here, talk to Terrence. Hey, Terrence.
Hey, how are you, Glenn?
I'm doing very well. It's it's been kind of a quick show. We actually only have about a minute left.
Yeah, but I think this is probably something more suited for a longer discussion. But one of the issue I want to bring up is that what's happening here with this whole marijuana issue is that the term legalization and the term decriminalization are being used interchangeably, mostly by liberals. But there are people in the public who don't quite understand each of the terms, and they're very different. And even in on the breaks, even on your station and another station, the news broadcaster uses the term legalization and decriminalization in the same sentence, describing what we just voted on.
Well, Terrence, we're finding out how different they are, because the legalization process allows all kinds of, this is legal, this is not legal, we're going to do this, that, the other thing, almost the commercialization of it, which gets to the heart of the difficulty that I'm having with it.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that when you legalize something, there's the three tools that I always explain to people is that liberalism likes to use legalization as their weapon of choice.
Legalization and government control.
And conservatives tend to use prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
And
you just can't do it.
And libertarians tend to use decriminalization.
Which is where I think most of the public wanted to go on this vote. Well, we're going to have to continue this discussion later, Terrence, and I think it's a good one. We've got legal marijuana now. Today is the very first day of that, the third state in our union to legalize a controlled substance like marijuana. Thanks so much for calling, Terrence. I appreciate it. Folks, you're listening to The Glen Biegel Show. This is your drive home. It's been a great pleasure to be on with you. Make sure to tune into Tom Anderson coming up in the morning.